when I went through the phase of studying performance art, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be somebody who embodied an entire stage, changed the atmosphere in the room because of the character. So I'd studied that for that particular period in time. Mm-hmm. And that took me 2 years.
This is Writer's Mosaic in Conversation. Del Jessop talks to Zena Edwards about poetry, performance, and the embodiment of characters through movement.
I have the pleasure of being joined by the poet, digital storyteller, project maker, and educator, Zena Edwards. Zena, thank you for taking the time to come and speak with us today. How are you doing, first and foremost?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, how's your day been so far?
It's been interesting. I got up really early, started early, writing, meditation, nice breakfast. It's good. Yeah.
It's always good, isn't it? Start solid.
I also had a walk as well, so that was good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump straight in, if you don't mind, with a quote from yourself, actually. And it says, "There are actually no words to express how exhilarating the feeling is to be entirely embodied in the poem in the moment. It takes work, but it also takes a commitment pulled from the depths of a sense of purpose. Yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing." I wanted to ask you, do you recall a specific moment when you knew, right, this is what I'm meant to be doing? Poetry is where I'm gonna land.
I remember many of those moments, thankfully, and they were when I was on international stages, because I was really aware that I was in a completely different atmosphere, breathing a completely different air culturally. Mm. I could feel that people were appreciating my work, despite me coming from where I'm from, working class, black woman from Tottenham. Yet my work was resonating with an audience on a human level. It didn't matter where I was from, as long as the story was communicated well, was alive in people in terms of like how they were receiving it. And I can tell when that's happening because I can feel a reciprocal energy. Like I'm giving all of this energy to the story and to an audience to create a community moment, and I can feel the energy coming back. And that is often when it's been really, really great, just by the looks on people's faces, they're enchanted in the poem the same way as I am in the moment as well. I can see it on their faces. I'm like, we're all there. We've all made it to that place where the poem is happening, where the story is happening, where the emotion, where the action, where the revelation and the imagination is sparking is happening. And because I love poetry that much, to be able to see that aha or wow moment in an audience's faces is for me, makes me go, yeah, I'm doing my job. This feels right.
Amazing.
And I feel blessed to be able to do that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's interesting you said that aha moment, that wow moment. Do you, again, going down memory lane today, do you remember reading anything specifically when you were growing up that made you feel that way in which that you just described so beautifully there, where you had that wow, or you feel seen in a piece? And if so, what?
It's a couple of pieces. I would say my first real aha moment when it came to language, English language, and looking at what it can gift you with when you have an English teacher who really enjoys teaching poetry. It was actually teaching my English teacher when I was about 12 years old, teaching Romeo and Juliet. And I say this on every interview, because I still remember, but soft, what light on yonder window breaks, it is the east, and Juliet is the sun that shames the moon's face, or something like this. And I was like, the sun that shames the moon's face. Now, as a child, I was absolutely, and still am, but when I was like really small, like about 7, 8, 9, I was absolutely fascinated by the moon. I'd always be staring at the moon and just completely enraptured by it. So to find a line in a piece of poetry that shames the moon, how dare you try and shame? So this face that she must have must be really stunning. But that was the moment where I had, wow, that line caught me. That line caught me, that this man had written this beautiful, like, lilting language, and that line caught me. And that was when I got hooked into the language and wanted to know more about poetry, this particular type of writing. We weren't doing poetry per se, we were studying Shakespeare. There was that moment, but also reading, and this is prose, this was reading Alice Walker's Temple of My Familiar.
Okay.
The whole idea of having this magical energy that's not human, it's the familiar, and it being this magical creature, the way it's described. But it's a bird of flight, I believe. It had feathers, if I can remember rightly. But I more got into the whole idea of having this other energy that's not human, that understands you better than you do, in some ways can see you, and hence why I love cats. Like,
Right.
I love cats for that sort of energy. But reading that book, I got really, just you want something that just takes you away, and it's that book. Her writing has that kind of energy, and so does reading Gabriel Garcia Marquez, his magic realism. There's a couple of books. I can't remember the title, which is really bad. It will come back to me. But it's written in the stream of consciousness. So there's no punctuation. Throughout the entire book, there's no punctuation. It's just blocks of writing and just being taken on that journey. And then the next thing you know, it's really poetic. And the next minute, it's really incredibly violent. And you don't know how it got there, but then you're taken out of there, gently taken out. And so you don't feel frightened. That language really inspired me to explore what this sound that is coming out of my mouth right now, out of my can do, what what these words can do, what these symbols can do on the page, and then when they're lifted off the page and spoken. I just wanted to know more and more and more about that.
Yeah, right. And going back to Shakespeare really briefly, would you say that you had a overall positive interaction with Shakespeare? Often I say that because in schools it feels like it's chalk and cheese. Some people are enamoured instantly, and others are like, I can't wait to never see or hear anything of the bard in that way. It sounded positive. Is that fair to say?
Yes,
to
it
yourself?
was positive.
Yeah.
It was positive. I mean, I'm into history in terms of when the writing was being written on the timeline of history, why they wrote that like this. Why did you write like that? What was happening politically, socially, and how was culture influencing what was happening politically, and how was culture influenced by what was happening politically? So stories around integrity and honour, that's why I liked Romeo and Juliet, because it was about, honour of their houses, the two houses, and her honour, to honour your heart with love, and and remembering that they're teenagers. I think they're under 16.
Yeah, it's kind of wild when you think about it.
Right, but you have to honour puppy love, even if that's what it was. Do you know what I'm saying? You have to honour it. And then there's obviously Othello, and what was happening there, and him being a Moor, and the power of the Moorish Empire, and the whole idea of the politics that was at play when it came to reputation with Iago. Put aside the racial thing and just get into the politics of what was happening at the time and position. For me, I find Shakespeare interesting because of what was happening politically and how he chose to document and write about it through drama and theatre.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Would you say then, having appreciated Shakespeare's work, has it made you something of a detective? Have you employed any of those skills or continue to use so in your own work now, and how so?
Yeah. Thanks for that question. Yeah, I like to research before I do anything.
Yeah.
Because then I know what I'm writing about. And I know where to write from, and I know where I can go to, how far I can stretch it, and if I'm stretching an idea into the realms of like, okay, that just wouldn't happen culturally. That character wouldn't do that unless I am doing it deliberately to go into the fantastical or magic realism and stuff like that. Then I can make a conscious decision as an author about how far I'm taking a piece of information that I found is historically correct. Then I can make a decision.
Amazing.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay.
What you said piqued my interest earlier in regards to escapism.
Yeah.
How important is that for you as a writer, as a poet, as a performer, to have that element peek through in your works for others, or is it something you just appreciate?
For me, it doesn't feel like escapism.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like base camp. I have to go back to base camp, nourish, recuperate, regenerate, rest. Did I say that part again? I'll say rest twice if I have to, because rest is important.
Listen, say it 3 times.
Okay,
It is important.
So rest. So that's why I go back to the page. When I don't, I really notice a difference in my well-being. I can overthink. And the overthinking for me isn't a bad thing. It enables me to I kind of like gather data. I gather data, so it's not really overthinking. It's just like data, and I won't know when to turn the lights off and go to sleep and switch my laptop off and stuff like that.
Right.
So to go back to writing or reading poetry, and it's very, very, very specifically poetry that I can just exhale.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
As opposed to escape. Do you know what I mean? It's just like a base camp. It's time to go to base camp.
I like that term, base camp. That's the place.
Yeah.
Born in Hackney, grew up in Tottenham.
Yeah.
I wonder if you'd be able to speak on how that's influenced your work, if it has at all, how that location, that North London, the hustle and bustle, how has that informed your work?
I went to school in Crouch End, and so my formative years when it came to my education and socialising and everything was like more Crouch End and sort of Muswell Hill area, but it's very grounding to come back to Tottenham. And I think if I'm influenced by anything more so is thinking about my mum's story, being here, coming here at the age of 12 years old, just with her father, and him being a milliner. He made hats and waistcoats. And my mum growing up without her mum. It's just really just the two of them, quite an insular sort of like pod of two, you know. And maybe with one of her sisters who's sent to to a different school, how she was able to work her way from being somebody who worked making screws in a screw factory, I think, or putting them in boxes, and then trained to be a receptionist, to be secretary, and then to be a receptionist, and then to get her MA in hotel catering and management at 53, and then have her own business and drive around America to study Creole food, to just be an incredible artist and writer as well. Just she does it so quietly and secretly. My inspiration is home, and my mum is my home in that respect. And where she is her house is in Tottenham. Okay. So that's my inspiration when it comes to just keeping on. And the area of Tottenham, it's music everywhere, which I really appreciate. Bernie Grant's Art Centre is just up the road, and the Marcus Garvey Library is around the corner. There's Tottenham Marshes, so location-wise, there's green spaces there. But when I was growing up, I didn't go to school there, so I didn't really hang around in the area quite so much. And then just up the road, you have Stamford Hill, so you've got a Jewish community there. There's sort of an African community. The borough itself speaks 279 languages, I think you can find.
Wow.
In the borough of Haringey, where Tottenham is. So it's very multicultural. And my mum is one of those, I'm first generation born in the UK, but my mum is one of those who migrated there with her father. It's part of that multicultural community, so.
You study storytelling and performance at the London International School for Performing Arts. What were the biggest takeaways from your time while studying there? That's a big question, I know.
It was a brilliant time, actually. I would love to do it again, but I think their courses are now based in Berlin now.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Art House in Berlin. Because they did the practice of Thomas Prakti, there was movement, and storytelling was through movement, and clowning, and mask work, and sound. It was actually Guy Dartnell who has this practice as well called Voices, Energy in Motion. I think that's where he breaks it down. I really enjoy dance. So to be able to move the words into the body and to move the story into the body, to tell words with the body before you get into expressing, even vocalizing any sound, for me was really interesting. Not dance, movement, and character development through movement. It was a really exciting set of courses. I would love to do it again, to be quite honest. Yeah, I'd love to go and do it again.
I'm really intrigued as to why in particular that you went, because often you'll find some people will just go straight into it and almost like work on the job. Were you conscious? Were you like, I want to build up my arsenal of skills? Or was it a thing of like, actually there were people and, as you were saying, tutors there that you were like, I need to be under their tutelage? Were you like, I just want to study a bit of Lecoq and Mask? What was it that made you do that? Was it just from a position of humility as well?
I like that question, just because I think it was because I needed to get out from behind the microphone. From the performance poetry perspective, I mean, sometimes I'm not nervous, but I'm like, do I call myself a spoken word artist? Do I call myself a performance poet? I got into big arguments with poets, but no, you're just a poet. It's just like, okay. But I studied performance, and I did that deliberately because there was a kind of like a whole phase of poets moving from just doing performance behind the mic to doing their one-person shows. So Lem Sissay did Something Dark. Roger Robinson did Shadow Boxer. And then Malika Booker did another show as well. So there was all this kind of like trend of poets moving from just behind the microphone and wanting to do one-person shows. But I also knew I wanted to do complete embodiment of characters using movement. So it was also extremely helpful for me to do that because it actually helped me with my writing. It gave me a better sense of who my characters were based on how they moved. And that was what was really great about the voice emotion work that I did with Guy Dartnell. Going to do the work with London International School of Performing Arts was also just an exciting venture. It moved me completely away from everything else. When I say everything else, I mean like what was normal, the norm of going to uni to do it or anything like that. It was just a completely different vibe. It was an international school as well, so you had people from all over the world there. Yeah, it was. I don't know. It just excited me. It was exciting.
It's really interesting that you touched on being able to almost like permeate into different areas. As I was doing my research for today, I was looking, and it's so interesting how people refer to you. Say you're a poet, you're a performer. You clearly are someone that wears many hats. Have you found that quite hard in a sense, or have you always been quite consistent in just going, "This is what I'm doing at the moment. I do this. I can do this. I can do this."
Yeah.
But I am many things.
It's a tricky question, and it's kind of got a little bit of politics behind it as well. It's okay. I mean, the thing is that poetry is my life. I love it, and the way it's fed to me over the decades from a child to now. I breathe it. It gives me life, but I also am aware that I have to make a living, and I have to also aware that I have to fit into pigeonholes. Probably, I'm a product. You know, part of me is a product, and then the part of me that's just like, this is what I do, and then skip into the, sunset with a poem in my hand, you know.
Right.
But there's the other side of things like, okay, deadlines have to be met, briefs have to be met, our mortgage has to be paid, those kinds of things. So the pigeonholing thing, I'm not greedy. I just believe I can do everything. I just have to put it in my diary and schedule it well. When I went through the phase of studying performance art, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be somebody who embodied an entire stage, changed the atmosphere in the room because of the character. So I'd studied that for that particular period in time. And that took me 2 years. The next thing I knew that I wanted to do was to focus on alternative education, using the arts, but mainly focusing on poetry and film, going into zine making, but also working with young people aged between 16 to 30. So I took 8 years of my life focused on that part. In that, I was able to become a project maker, a producer, and then for the last 5-6 years, I've been looking at online work. How can I make poetry accessible internationally by doing online? So I focused on education online, I focused on performance online, I focused on large-scale projects that help build community for poets online. So I don't want to be pigeonholed, but I can do these things.
Yeah.
And in that, I've learnt loads. I've met lots of really interesting people. It's been difficult, but you persevere through. And when to persevere through, I go back to base camp. But when it comes to the industry, I can understand. Like I decided I didn't want to perform for right about 2017, I'd been talking about it for like 2 years. I just don't feel like performing anymore. I feel like I need to come off stage. I don't think I've got anything fresh to say.
Yeah.
I feel like I've said everything. I need to do something different. And I'd been very, very lucky from the early 90s. I travelled internationally with my mentor, Pops Mohammed. I've worked with musicians, I've worked with dancers, I've worked with ceramicists and visual artists. And, poetry has enabled me to meet so many people and meet them with their art form as well. But the bottom line, the foundation of who I am is a poet. So you can always come to me for poetry, but I can help you build a project. I can brand you if you want to do and build you a website. If you need that, I can develop your project from scratch to the end. I can do that because I've done it for my own projects and I've got the skills to do it now. I've acquired the skills to do that. And I think that's what comes from, like I said, my mum having inspired me, that she has lived many lifetimes in one lifetime and hasn't limited herself in what she could do. And I found other family members as well. Same thing, entrepreneurial women who just said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And they've done them over decades. So why would I not do it?
Yeah, they've almost given a lovely blueprint as to how you
A blueprint,
kind of do so.
permission.
Yeah, made space, all these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go back to our quote from earlier on. Do you still feel that total embodiment when you are performing poems, or has that feeling matured over time into something else? I mean, you've been doing it over 2 decades. So I'm curious as to if you still have that fire which is still there, or is it something else? Does it look like something else?
The timing now for me is from this year, January now to now. I have got the fire in my belly to get back on stage.
Amazing.
And to feel that performance on stage with words. I've actually been doing a little personal pet project.
Okay.
Where whatever's in my headphones, I will dance. I actually started getting into this thing of getting up really early in the morning, dawn, before the sun's coming up, and there's a junction where I live, and just dancing. And I'm talking like big dancing. And doing movement from different cultures as well, experimenting with movement from different cultures, like from Rwanda and Japan, and hip hop, some contemporary movement stuff, interpretive dance, just whatever. And because I have a small flat, my front room is probably about the same size as this space here, with furniture, so it's not big. So I can't, and I'm long, I'm tall, I've got very long limbs. So I just needed a space. And there was something about doing it in different spaces. I've done it all over London. Seeing people smile, sometimes people would just join me, and it was I had sort of like signature movements that I would do. I haven't done that for a bit, but that was really, I don't know, it helped me pose something, because I think I'd done so much sitting behind my laptop, creating these courses and creating projects, that my body was getting like, I need to move, you need to move. And it also reminded me that that's what I used to be like when I was younger. I just want to get up and move, get up and dance. Or there's just this part of me that I feel wants to connect with others in movement as well. I'm aware, as dancers, that how energy changes in a room, in a space, when there is dance happening, or when there is movement happening. So getting back behind a microphone, putting words with movement is an exciting thing for me. That's why I was saying about wanting to go back to LISPA, London International School of Performing Arts. I'd love to do that now. So
you've just said what excites you. My follow-up question to that is, what scares you?
Not doing it scares me more, I think. Not being able to do my craft scares me more. When I was developing and rehearsing for my one woman show, and I'd been performing it for a bit, I was actually in Japan when we was performing it. I lost my voice there, and it had gone. My voice was gone for nearly 4 weeks. My voice left me, and I, at one point beginning of week 2, I started to cry, like, what if my voice never comes back? Because I had a camera. They put a camera down my throat, couldn't see anything. My throat wasn't particularly inflamed. What's the issue? It was just sheer fatigue. It was
Right.
sheer fatigue and burnout.
Okay.
But what I did was I put a hammock between the 2 trees in my garden, and I went and I sat in my garden. I had lunch in my garden for 3 weeks, and it was interesting. A phone call came through for work. I'd managed to avoid it. I put my phone down, so I'm not answering it. If it's not a friend or anybody, I'm not answering it. But phone rang, and I just picked it up that day. And as I was speaking, my voice was coming back, and as I was speaking, it literally faded away. Like, nope. My body was saying
It's quite
nope.
scary.
Yeah, my body said nope. Like, while I was trying to make an arrangement to meet for work, like, you're not going anywhere. So my body was talking to me, and so I postponed that booking, put the phone down, postponed it, and paid attention. But the point was that I thought, what if I will never get my voice back? What if I never sing again? What if I never can speak again? How am I going to do this? So I bought a camera and started taking pictures with digital SLR. Spent too much money on lenses. And actually in saying that, I want to say RIP and honour Bunny Bread. Code Emphasis, he passed recently because I went to one of his group workshops, and outdoor, we were outside. It was have the courage to ask people who can take their portrait shots. And I took some really great shots from that meeting, convening with photographers, and it was really great. It was a lovely day, lovely summer's day with him saying, guiding you and stuff like that. But I had my digital SLR to help me continue to tell stories. It scares me that I would never be able to speak and do that again. But storytelling has me. It's like it owns me. So I have to tell stories somehow, whether it be just written and through film and photography. I'll do it. That's how I'll do it.
I'm really interested from a selfish reason, but also I just love to know what people's process is, how you get to bringing your work, your poetry to fruition. Are you someone who isolates himself away? Do you take yourself for a walk? What does that look like of a day for you?
When I wrote my one-woman show, because that was an extended piece of poetry and performance, monologue, dialogue poetry, what do you call those other things there? Soliloquies, those kinds of things. That was like an incubation thing. I had to be outside though. I couldn't be in my house. So there was a cafe that I would write in. And actually the cafe really inspired the first draft of the one-person show. Just coffee and laptop. But that was a real, I wouldn't want to do that again if I'm going to be honest.
Really? Why is that?
Because I was in this, it was too intense.
Right.
It was too intense. Hours of writing and looking up, and the whole scenario had changed. Like it was literally, you'd see the morning group of people, the lunchtime group of people, the afternoon, and then the evening. That's how it was. It was too much though.
That's a lot.
Yeah, in one spot. And also it was expensive because I was having to buy to stay there.
London, yeah.
Yeah. But it was, the process was too intense. But I enjoy being outside writing and being in the hustle bustle of people and just being that. I do not enjoy writing at night on my own. It's a completely different headspace. A short bursts of writing I'd prefer to do. I really enjoy writing first thing in the morning. Because I write so much to a brief, I have an incubation period of not looking any writing, just doing a lot of research, talking to people about things, seeing things that are related to the theme or the brief in my peripheral vision, and then one day I'll just start writing, and then it will tend to just all come out. So that might take a few weeks.
Yeah.
I prefer to give myself a couple of weeks. 3 weeks is good. When I have 3 weeks, then like bam, I'll have something.
It's a good time frame.
Yeah, it's a good time. 3 weeks. If I have just a week, I'm like, you
Yeah.
can have it, but I don't really give it to you. That sort of thing.
3
That's
weeks.
what yeah, 3
Okay.
weeks is good. Yeah.
I wanted to briefly touch back on your work as an educator. So you've taught in universities, colleges, schools, and many other cultural institutions. I wanted to know how important it is for you as an artist to inspire and help equip the next generation, and in turn, how that may feed back into your own work.
Depending on the setting, I really enjoy being in academic spaces. Actually, there's a part of me that enjoys like just talking.
Yeah.
The way that
You're in the right
academics
place
just
then.
do.
Yeah, fine.
You know, we just like talking about stuff and around stuff.
Mm.
And I enjoy that because it allows you to get into the nitty gritty and the real meat of a subject. It allows you to get into that. I really enjoy pulling things apart and unpacking things and debating about what's true and what's the verisimilitude of things. And I just, you know, I really enjoy pulling in the politics that are historically contextualized. Like I like history. Like I really enjoy history. Right now, I'm thinking I really enjoy looking at climate and environmental issues. So knowing something like, okay, Queen Elizabeth the First was believed or known to have sat under a particular tree in Honor Oak Park, and it was an oak tree where the two botanists, said, "Can we go to North America and see what's there?" And she said, "Fine, go." And that was the beginning of the colonial drive. It didn't begin with conquering, but when they got there, there's like, oh my God, look at all this gold everywhere. Look at there's this land, and just claim it. And then the next thing you know, we have climate change the way we have this horrible extractivist process of creating the world that we know now, in terms of like the material things that we have and the way the machine of society that we live in the West. But the context, the historical context, was a woman sitting underneath a tree, saying, "Yeah, go, you can go." That's how it started. You know, who was the Queen of England. So putting things like that into context, even now I'm thinking I'd really love to study botanical history, how that influenced how it's story told for the colonial drive to happen and to get us where we are now. I would love to sit down and unpack that with academics, that's fine. But take the same subject and talk about that with a group of young people, break it down and say, okay, and I did this with a project called Climate of Fear. It was with Contact Young People's Theatre. And I tried to give a window of why somebody from Syria who would be a migrant here or a refugee here in the UK, their homeland is experiencing climate change. There's drought. They go into the city's been bombed out. They're young people that all they want to do is earn money, feed their family, maybe get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, maybe, you know, have some nice clothes. That's all they want to do, same as you.
Yeah.
So that's why they've come here to do that. You are struggling to find work as a young person. You feel misunderstood in this country as a young person born here. So you've actually got something that you can relate to. All you want to do is find a job, buy yourself a nice clothes, maybe get yourself a girl. And when you do that, they get it. But the overarching, the umbrella of that is climate-induced migration. So I will go back and I'll say, well, we know this lady, she was sat under a tree. And she sent these two guys. Yeah. And then they go, oh, yeah, and you put everything into a historical, this is where we are on the historical timeline. We sit here on this historical timeline. How do you want to talk about climate environmental issues? How do you want to talk about somebody who you see as a climate refugee, who your older brother or your father or your dad or somebody or your mum might be a bit begrudging against this refugee person who's just... Do you see what I'm saying?
Totally.
But the bottom line is everybody just wants to have a little bit of money, pay their bills, maybe have a holiday, do something nice. Yeah. That's what everybody...
Yeah. These aren't massive things we're asking for, right?
Right.
Again, jumping back to your 11/12-year-old self, what advice would you give yourself now, knowing what you know, where you've travelled, what you've seen and experienced, who you've come into contact with, looking back in hindsight, which is always, what would you say to yourself?
I would say, sorry, it took a minute there because my 17-year-old self is speaking.
Oh, okay. Everyone's welcome.
My 17-year-old self is saying, is actually knocking me on the head saying, you're wiser than you think you know. You know, I read some of the stuff that I wrote when I was 17. I'm like, oh my God, I was so wise. Why did I doubt? I shouldn't have doubted. I would say to my 17-year-old self, can you go and talk to my 12-year-old self, please?
Have a word, yeah.
And tell them you're gonna make some really smart decisions and that you're gonna be really smart.
Yeah.
that part.
Amazing.
Because I think I didn't feel very smart when I was little. There wasn't so much congratulating for achieving things
Yeah.
so much then.
Okay.
In school, so much.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your questions. They're great.
Del Jessop was talking to Zena Edwards. To hear more writers, go to writersmosaic.org.uk.